Hello everyone and welcome to my series on Excel for data analysis. In my previous video, we discussed about basic Excel formulas like sum, SUMIFS, count and COUNTIF. Now it's time to dive deeper into advanced Excel formulas like SUMIFS, COUNTIFs, IFNA, VLOOKUP and pivot table. All of these formulas are very useful in data analytics and I hope you will find it very helpful. Let's understand each of these formulas with some examples. So first we have is SUMIFS formula. It allows us to sum the cells in a range with multiple criteria. The syntax of SUMIFS formula is as follows. First is sum range. It is the column that we want to sum. Second is criteria range 1. It is the first column that we want to filter. Third is criteria 1. It is the value that we want to filter from our first selected column, that is criteria range 1. Fourth is criteria range 2. It is the second column that we want to filter. Fifth is criteria 2. It is the value that we want to filter from our second selected column, that is criteria range 2. Let's see SUMIFS formula in action. So from our sales data set behind, we need to answer the question, what is total number of quantities sold for health and beauty where gender is female? This can be answered through SUMIFS formula as follows. I will type in SUMIFS. You can select it from the drop down. My sum range here will be the quantity column because we want to know total quantity sold. Then my criteria range 1 will be the product line column and my filter here will be health and beauty. Then my second criteria range is gender column and my filter here will be female, and I'll close the parenthesis and hit enter. So 343 is the total number of quantities sold for health and beauty product line where gender was female. Second we have is COUNTIFS formula. It allows us to count the number of cells that meets multiple conditions. The syntax of COUNTIFS formula is as follows. First is criteria range 1. It is the first column that we want to filter. Second is criteria 1. It is the value that we want to filter from our first selected column, that is criteria range 1. Third is criteria range 2. It is the second column that we want to filter. Fourth is criteria 2. It is the value that we want to filter from our second selected column, that is criteria range 2. Let's see COUNTIFS formula in action. In our dataset, we have a question. What is the total number of invoices generated for sports and travel product line where gender is male? This question can be answered with the help of COUNTIFS formula as follows. In my cell, I'll simply type in COUNTIFS formula, and our first criteria range 1 will be the product line column and our criteria will be sports and travel. Our second criteria range will be the gender column and the criteria will be male. Close the parenthesis and hit enter. So 78 is the total number of invoices generated for sports and travel product line where customers were male. This is how you do COUNTIFS in Excel. Third we have is if formula. It is a conditional statement that returns one value if a condition is true and returns another value if the condition is false. The syntax of if formula is as follows. First is the condition that we want to test. Second is value if true. That is the value we want to print if the condition is true. Third is value if false. That is the value that we want to print if the condition is not met. Let's see if formula in action. In our dataset, we have a rating column where customers have given their ratings. Based on this ratings, we want to create a new column called rating status, which will show us whether the rating is very good or if we need to call the customer. So this can be achieved through if formula as follows. I will simply type in the if function, and my logical test would be if the rating is greater than or equal to 8, then it should print very good, and if this condition is not met, then it should print call to customer. So I'll type in call to customer and close the parenthesis, hit enter, and this will give us the rating status based on our condition, that is, if rating is greater than or equal to 8, then it should print very good, or else it should print call to customer. So you can see for the rating that is 9.1, it says very good, and in the third row where the rating is 7.4, that is less than 8, so it says call to customer. Next we have is VLOOKUP. VLOOKUP searches for a specified value from a table or a column and then returns a corresponding value from the same row of another column or a table. VLOOKUP syntax can be divided into four parts. First is lookup value. It is the value that we want to look up. Second is table array. It is the table or range of cells from where we want to search. Third is column index number. It is the index of the column from where we want to search the value. Fourth is range lookup. This is an optional argument that determines if we want to find the exact match or approximate match. Let's understand VLOOKUP formula with an example. In our dataset, we have two tables. First is employee information, which consists of employee name and employee ID. The second table is employee salary, which consists of two columns, that is employee ID and salary. Now in the employee information, we also want to see the salary of the employee that is corresponding to a particular employee ID. So we can achieve this through VLOOKUP formula as follows. First I will create a salary column in my table. So here you go. Then I will write VLOOKUP function. Now the lookup value is the employee ID because we want to get the salary corresponding to that particular ID. So lookup value is employee ID cell. Then our table array will be the employee salary table because this table has the salary information. Then the column index of the salary column is 2, and we want to return the exact match. So I'll type in 0 and close my parenthesis and hit enter. Now this will give me a salary corresponding to this particular employee ID. VLOOKUP is very useful when you are working with a large data set, and it is a must-have tool in your data analysis arsenal. Next we have is IFNA. It is a way of handling an error in your spreadsheet. So continuing from our previous example, we got this NA error in our dataset because employee ID 789 is not present in the employee salary table. So instead of showing NA, we want to print much more meaningful message, which can be achieved through IFNA function as follows. So we need to simply grab the VLOOKUP formula with IFNA function. So I'll open up the formula bar and type in IFNA and open another parenthesis, and in the end I will type comma, and if the value is not available, it should say not available instead of the NA error. So I'll close the parenthesis and hit enter. So it will give me not available. So this is a better way of handling errors and display a meaningful message in your spreadsheet. Last but definitely not the least is pivot table. Pivot table quickly summarizes the data and gives an important insights. So we will be answering two questions with the help of pivot table. First will be what is the average rating by branch, and second will be what is the total quantity sold by product line. Let's see pivot table in action. To insert pivot table in your data, you will need to select your data first, and from the insert menu you can click on the pivot table and click OK. This will create a pivot table fields for you, and our first question here is we want to know average rating by each branch. So I will click on the branch column and then I will click on the ratings column. So you see it gives us the sum of rating by default, but we want to know the average of ratings. So from the drop down, I will click on values field setting, and instead of sum I will click on average and click OK. This now gives us the average rating by each branch. Our second question here is, what is the quantity sold by each product line? So first I will remove both of these columns, and then I will select the product line column, and I will select the quantity column. By default it shows sum of quantity, and this is what we exactly need in our question. So you can play around with pivot table as per your requirements, and it is a very useful tool in quickly summarizing your data and gain some useful insights from it. So that's it for today. SUMIFS, COUNTIFS, IFNA, VLOOKUP, and pivot table are all powerful Excel formulas which allows us to analyze and summarize our data. I hope you learned something from this video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more data analysis tips and tricks, and I'll see you in the next video.